The morning the scandal broke, Lagos woke up before Kingsley Adekunle did. News vlogs flashed his name in red. Influencers deserted his leaked voice notes, and investors began dialing his phone before sunrise. It wasn't the worst thing a billionaire had ever been caught saying, but it was enough to bruise a merger he had spent 18 exhausting months negotiating. His legal team blamed sabotage. His PR director, Nara, called it a manageable disaster, and his mother simply sighed over the phone. This is why you need a stable home, Kingsley. A wife, a new image. The word wife hung in the air like a corporate strategy, not an emotion. Kay stared at the skyline outside his Ikoyi penthouse, watching the city sketch awake. Marriage had never been on his list, not out of fear but out of calculation. Everything in his life had moved with intention until this scandal proved that even the most powerful could bleed. By evening, the pressure intensified. The merger partners demanded reassurance. The board requested a long-term stability plan. Nora presented a thick report detailing how public affection for K had plummeted in less than 12 hours. You need a soft narrative, she said. Something grounded, something quiet. That was the moment in idea hit key. Not romantic, not poetic, just logical. A wife without controversy, without history, without digital ghosts. Someone who didn't live online because online was where people became dangerous. I need a quiet woman, he muttered almost to himself. Nora raised an eyebrow, half amused, half jealous, but didn't argue. Kay wasn't looking for love. He was looking for silence. He was looking for safety. What he didn't know was that silence in the wrong hands is more powerful than noise. The fundraiser was small, unassuming, almost beneath Kay's usual social tie. He attended only because the clinic involved had been one of Adekunle's Capital CSRU beneficiaries. But from the moment he entered the modest Victoria Island Hall, something shifted. While society women looked at him with practiced smiles, his attention caught on a woman standing alone near the far window. She wasn't trying to be noticed. She was even dressed to draw a glance. Simple peach dress, natural hair in a low bun, dark clear skin that glowed gently under the evening light. Her posture was calm, almost serene, like someone detached from the fantastic labor chatter around her. When their eyes met, she offered a polite nod, not admiration, not intimidation, just acknowledgement. It triggered him more than any flex could. Later that night, Kay asked his assistant to pull up her details. Within 20 minutes, the reply came, Sir, she doesn't have social media, no Instagram, no Facebook, no X, no LinkedIn, not even an old abandoned account. Kay blinked, stunned. In Lagos, being offline was like being invisible. It was rare, suspicious, magnetic. What's her name? Kay asked. Amaka Owunsu, sir. That's all we have. The absence of information hooked him deeper than any presence could. He had built an empire on data, statistics, and predictability. Yet here was a woman who left no digital trail, no searchable past, no algorithmic identification. For the first time in a long while, Kingsley Adekunle felt curious, not the calculated kind that drove business, but the kind, human, that disrupted it. The following week, Kay returned to the charity clinic under the guise of routine inspection, though everyone knew he rarely repeated visits. Amma was there, sorting medical supplies with efficiency that didn't match her quiet aura. He tried subtle questioning, where she grew up, where she studied, why she volunteered. She answered with gentle honesty, but left wide gaps that couldn't be filled with Google search or digital footprints. She volunteered because she cared, grew up here and there, and studied administrative work. Nothing more, nothing less. She didn't lie. She simply didn't expand. Every word felt intentional, controlled, like someone used to guiding the edges of her life. From her perspective, Kay was too observant to ignore. She had seen men like him, commanding, meticulous, used to the world bending in their direction. Amma noticed the way he watched people, the way he watched her. His questions were polite, but his curiosity was sharp. Still, she kept her tone level and her answers simple. She had survived too much to hand her story to a stranger whose world thrived on exposure. Every day she lived without social media wasn't accidental, it was protection. She knew eyes were always searching, always waiting to connect dots. She worked tirelessly to scatter. Whatever Kingsley Adekunle wanted, Amma vowed to give him only one thing: distance. What startled Kay wasn't that he liked Amma, it was how efficiently she fit into the space he needed filling. She didn't seek fame, didn't chase money, didn't drown herself in curated aesthetics. She was still predictable, unpredictable, and the more chaos his scandal stirred, the more he thought about how a woman like her could ground him. So the proposal came out with roses or sentiment, but with structure, security, comfort, financial stability, and a peaceful life away from the public eye. Alma listened calmly, her face unreadable. When he finished, she smiled softly, sadly. "You're offering me a solution, not a marriage," she said, "and you don't even know who I am." Her refusal unsettled him more than he expected. He wasn't used to no, especially from someone who had nothing to gain by saying it. Days passed, pressure increased. His mother insisted the board needed reassurance. His PR team demanded a narrative shift. Then Amma reappeared one afternoon at his office reception, holding a small notebook. "If you want marriage, you should know my boundaries first," she said. Her conditions were simple but firm: privacy, autonomy, no false public appearance, no social media accounts created on her behalf, and absolute respect for her personal space. It sounded less like a bride's wish list and more like a negotiation from someone who understood leverage far too well. Kay should have questioned that. Instead, he admired it. The wedding was beautiful in a strangest way, elegant, expensive, but silent. No live streaming, no hashtag, no influencers invited. Phones were sealed in security pouches, and guests were chosen as if the event were a classified meeting rather than a celebration. Amma walked down the aisle in a simple off-shoulder satin gown, no dramatic makeup, no social media personal sharing in the background. Just her calm eyes and steady steps. People whispered, "Who is she? Why does she have no online record? Why is the billionaire marrying a ghost?" Nora watched from the front row, smiling thinly, her jealousy disguised as professionalism. Alma didn't notice. She had never cared for the world's gaze. When the ceremony ended, Kay felt a strange mix of triumph and unease. He had gotten what he wanted: a quiet wife, a fresh image, a clean narrative. Yet, as Amma stood beside him during brief photographs, image destined never to be posted, he sensed something he couldn't name. Her silence wasn't submissive, it was controlled. Her smile wasn't shy, it was protected. She moved through the mansion that night like someone mapping territory, not someone overwhelmed by wealth. Nora approached Kay after the reception, her voice low. A woman with no history is neither a blessing or a warning. Kay brushed it off, but a small part of him wondered which one he had just married. Amma entered the Adekule mansion like someone stepping into a museum, respectfully, observant, but never dazzled. Kay expected her to cling to a luxury, to spend hours exploring walk-in closets and marble lounges, to post secret pictures or behave like someone newly upgraded. Instead, Amma treated the space like a temporary residence. She folded her clothes neatly, learned the names of every staff member, and created a soft routine that moved around, not through the noise of the house. She never demanded attention, never raised her voice, never performed gratitude. It confused Kay. Every other woman he had dated cared deeply about being seen, about collecting memories to display online. Amma lived each moment quietly, almost reverently, like someone used to taking up a little space as possible. And that restraint, unexpectedly elegant, pulled him towards her more than extravagancy ever had. Their connection grew slowly, not through dramatic scenes, but soft, ordinary nights. They often found themselves in the kitchen long after staffs had gone, drinking tea or discussing books she had read. Amma listened without judgment. Kay spoke without reacting his words or for headlines. He noticed the way she laughed, light but cautious, like joy was something she borrowed rather than owned. She noticed how he clenched his jaw whenever his father called. Their words were different, yet their silence felt together strangely well. Still in the corner of Kay's mind, a small question lingered. How can someone so private adapt so comfortably to a life designed for public consumption? He didn't confront it, not yet, but he felt it, a quiet shift, a gentle unraveling, a beginning he didn't fully understand. 2 months into the marriage, Amma began asking questions, not obvious ones, not intrusive ones, but questions that made Kay pause. During a tour of one of his offices, she asked casually, "Why does this room have a separate security grid?" Another day, she wondered why a storage door remained locked even when no classified work was happening. She pointed out small inconsistencies, files moved, doors left ajar, a new staff member whose badge didn't match the others. Her tone was always gentle, her curiosity framed as innocent, but the accuracy of her observation unsettled people. Kay brushed it off, telling himself she was simply perceptive. Yet, when his head of security mentioned that Amma asked about an access code no one had told her about, something inside him tightened. It wasn't just her questions, it was how she watched people. Amma had habits of scanning rooms quietly, taking notes of movements, glances, exits. It wasn't paranoia, it was pattern recognition, and Kay had seen that look before in auditors, investigators, and competitors. One night, as they sat on the balcony overlooking the city lights, she asked softly, "Do you trust everyone working for you?" He stared at her, unsure how to answer. She didn't push, she never pushed, but the question sank into his bone. Amma could read people too well for someone with no corporate background, no online presence, no visible training. Why did she notice things even his security team overlooked? Why did she move through life like someone who couldn't afford mistakes? He didn't know, and she wasn't volunteering answers. When the first rumor hit the blogs, it arrived like a whisper wrapped in poison. Who is Kingsley Adekunle's wife? Why is she invisible? Why is she hiding? Within hours, gossip accounts turned her absence into a conspiracy. Nora, smiling beyond her perfectly curated outrage, coordinated a subtle smear campaign. She leaked half-truths, screenshots of blank searches, unverified stories about Amma's secret past. Anonymous claims that Kay had married a scammer. The internet feasted on the mystery. People hated what they couldn't access. Amma, who had never posted a single picture of herself, became a trending topic. Kay stormed into Nara's office, furious, but Nara played innocent. Silence is suspicious. Kay, she whispered. If she won't tell her story, others will invent one. Yet Amma remained universally calm. When Kay showed her the articles, she simply closed the laptop and returned it to him. People talk, she says. It will pass, but her composure only startled him more. Most people panicked when dragged into digital spotlight. Amma treated the storm like an old familiar enemy. No trembling hands, no frantic explanation, no fear of exposure. Kay watched her that night, sitting by the windows as rain tapped the glass. Her silhouette steady and thoughtful. Who taught this woman to be unshakable? He wondered. Amma didn't ask for sympathy. She didn't ask for protection. She didn't even ask who might be behind the smile. Her stillness felt less like ignorance and more like training, and that scared him in a way he couldn't articulate. The investigative report drops like a grenade, an expo revealing that a shadow company tied to Adekunle Capital had been funneling public funds into private accounts. The evidence was dawning and too precise to be guessed. The public erupted. Investigators panicked. Investors panicked. The board demanded an emergency meeting. Kay's father exploded, shouting about enemies, betrayal, and political warfare. Deep down, Kay knew the truth. Whoever leaked this had access to everything: internal files, confidential emails, historical records only trusted hands could reach, and the timing was perfect, too perfect. Right after the smear campaign, right after Amma's name began circulating online, right after the family began digging into her background. He felt the walls of his empire closing in. As suspicion grew, Chief Remy's glare fell squarely on Amma. She came from nowhere. He backed during a heated meeting. Now this leaks comes from inside, connects the dots. Kay defended her out of instinct, not certainty. But when he returned home that evening and found Amma sitting quietly on the living room sofa, her hands clutched neatly, her expression unreadable, he felt a shift between them. She didn't ask about the leak. She didn't offer comfort. She simply asked, "Are you okay?" And somehow, that question felt heavier than an accusation. For the first time, Kay wondered, truly wondered, if the woman he married for silence had become silent long before he ever found her. But whether that silence was hiding him or hiding herself, Kay confronted Amma the next morning, not with anger, but with the weight of a man standing on fractured ground. "Did you know anything about the leak?" he asked. Amma didn't flinch, she didn't gasp or cry. She simply held her eyes and said, "I won't lie to you, but I won't answer a question asked in fear." The words cut deeper than denial. Kay felt something: rapture, trust, pride, certainty. She wasn't denying involvement. She wasn't admitting it either. She was drawing a boundary in a house built on transparency, and he hated how calm she remained while he felt he was unraveling. "I need the truth," he insisted. "You need patience," she replied softly. "The truth is louder than this moment." They slept in the same room that night, but walls felt apart. Kay stared at the ceiling, replaying every odd details he had ignored. Amma's trained silence, her perceptive questions, her refusal to online, her uncanny ability to stay composed. Amma lay beside him, breathing steadily, eyes open in the dark. She wasn't afraid of discovery. She was afraid of hurting him, but she also knew the path ahead was avoidable. Secrets demand consequence, and truth demands timing. Their marriage, once quiet and gentle, had become something else entirely: a courtroom without a judge, a battlefield without a declared war. The only thing left between them was the countdown of revelation. Kay wasn't searching for secrets when he opened the drawer in Emma's study. He was searching for reassurance, something small, something grounding, proof that he hadn't married a stranger wearing calmness like perfume. But what he found instead tightened his breath. A slim black folder labeled with a name he didn't recognize and filled with coded notes, timestamps, financial trails, and clipped articles about corruption cases stretching years back. One page contained a handwritten list of players, and at the bottom, circled twice, was Adekunle Capital. His heart throbbed against his ribs. These were not the notes of a random woman with no digital footprint. These were records someone had gathered with perception, purpose, and access. When his hands began to shake, the folder slipped from his grip and hit the floor softly, mockingly. Amma walked in at that moment, silence preceding her like a shadow. She didn't gasp, she didn't rush to snatch the document. She simply looked at Kay, looking at her, and the room shifted. All the warmth they had built, all the quiet moments shared, evaporated under the weight of the truth suspended between them. He tried to speak, but only managed. Tell me, this is what it looks like. Amma's expression softening, not with guilt, but with sorrow. I knew this day would come, she said, her voice steady, but I hoped he would reach it together. Not like this. She closed the door behind him, her movement slowly and deliberate, as if bracing herself for a storm she had survived once before. The marriage that once felt like refuge suddenly left like interrogation. Amma didn't sit. She stood in front of Kay, like someone ready to testify. Her voice was low, careful, and each word carried weight. She told him her real identity, not a new name, but a hidden one. The one tied to an internal investigative network that monitored corruption across private and public sectors. She hadn't been planted in his life by enemies. She had been following leads long before fate placed them in the same room. Adekunle Capital's name first crossed her path 3 years ago, long before she knew the face behind it. I didn't marry you to destroy you, she said, but I also couldn't abandon what I already unraveling. But I also couldn't abandon what I was already unraveling. She explained the offline life, the pro, the precautions, the silence. None of it was accidental. None of it was innocent. Her invisibility was self-defense. Kay listened, torn between this devastation and reluctant awe. He wanted to be angry, to accuse her of manipulation, to insist their connection had been a disguise, but somewhere inside he recognized the truth. Amma had never lied. She had simply omitted a world that could have endangered them both. Still, betrayal stung sharper than any corporate loss he had endured. You should have trusted me, he whispered. Amma's eyes glistened, but she didn't look away. Trust is a luxury where I come from, she replied. Trust is a responsibility. Her words pierced him deeply because they flipped everything he believed about love, power, and control. For the first time in his adult life, Kingsley Adekunle realized he wasn't the one holding the narrative. He was part of a narrative much bigger than himself. Chief Remy reacted to Amma's revelation with fury masked as strategy. He tightened security around the mansion, not to protect her, but to monitor her. Staff members whispered about new rules, new protocols, new warnings. Amma eyes felt on her everywhere she moved, and then the threats began, subtle, indirect, but unmistakable. A trampled phone, A warning letter slipped under her door. A man in a dark car parked outside the NGO office where she once volunteered. Even Nora intensified her smear campaign online, pushing the story that Emma had infiltrated the Adekunle family for financial gain. Emma endured it all with the same quiet strength she had always carried. But Kay watched her unravel in small, painful ways, hands trembling when she thought no one was looking, sleep growing fitful, her voice thinning at the edges. Meanwhile, Kay faced his own reckoning. His father demanded that he fix the problem by divorcing Amma and publicly discrediting her. The board threatened to vote him out if he didn't step away from the scandal. But the more pressure he felt, the clearer his internal conflict became. He could no longer pretend ignorance. Too many documents, too many secrets, too many warnings he had ignored. His empire wasn't clean, and Emma hadn't broken it. She had exposed what was already rotten. For the first time, Kay began investigating his own company, discovering truths that turned his stomach. At night, he watched his wife sleep on the edge of the bed, coiled tightly like someone bracing for danger. He realized something painfully simple. Every attack aimed at Emma was meant to prevent the very corruption she was fighting. Emma didn't go public because she wanted attention. She went public because the silence had become a weapon used against her. With Kay's support, she prepared a detailed report and requested to speak at a high-profile anti-corruption hearing in Lagos. The news shocked the city. The woman with no social media, the billionaire's mystery wife, the support nobody, suddenly stepped into the spotlight, holding documents that threatened the powerful. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted, and social media exploded. Amma stood tall in a simple navy dress, natural hair pulled back, eyes calm. She spoke clearly, confidently, laying out years of evidence, not just against rival companies, but against shallow accounts tied directly to Adekunle Capital. The world watched in disbelief. Nora's online smear campaign collapsed instantly under the weight of facts. Kay sat behind Amma during the hearing, his presence a statement louder than any speech. Society expected him to distance himself. The board expected him to renounce her. His father expected him to silence her. Instead, Kay leaned forward and placed a steady hand on her shoulder as she delivered her final statement. Cameras caught it. Lagos froze. That single gesture rewrote his public image and destroyed his father's political shield. Chaos erupted outside the building as arrests were made. Alas fled, and old secrets surfaced, but inside her all, Amma finally breathed as herself, not hidden, not managed, not reduced to whisper. Kay realized that he didn't just love her, he respected her deeply, painfully, and respect was something he had never truly given anyone before. In the aftermath, the Adekunle Empire shrank dramatically. Chief Remi resigned under pressure, several board members faced persecution, and Kay temporarily stepped down to cooperate with the cleanup investigations. The mansion felt quieter, humbler, stripped of the noise and power that once defined it. Amma spent her days assisting with legal documentation and returning to volunteer work, choosing a life rooted in purpose, not prestige. She no longer moved like someone hiding, she moved like someone free. Kay humbled and transformed, become began rebuilding not his brand but his integrity. He realized that losing the illusion of control had freed him to finally understand himself. Their marriage shifted to softer in some ways, stronger in others. They talked more, argued, honestly, healing slowly. Kay apologized not just for doubting Amma, but for wanting her to be silent for his convenience. Amma opened out about the fear that had governed her choices. the danger her work attracted, the loneliness that came with living offline. Together, they created new rules, no secrets that endanger them, no control disguised as protection, no silence used as punishment. Amma didn't become active online. She didn't need to. Her visibility was now defined by truth, not accounts. Cain no longer needed a quiet wife, he needed her. And in the calm that followed the storm, he understood the real lesson. Love isn't found in what you can search, love is found in what you are willing to face.